Well, if yesterday was my favorite baseball game of the year, today, I think it's safe to say, was pretty comfortably my least. All today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Wednesday, May 10th, 2023. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. A championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. So for parts that fit, head to eBay Motors to look for the green check. Stay in the game with eBay Guaranteed Fit. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Okay, we are back and not better than ever. That was miserable. That game wanted to make me just bash my head against a wall over and over and over again. That was awful. And you know, the reason it's my least favorite game of the year is A, for dramatic effect, because yesterday was my favorite. But mostly, it's because this wasn't like the worst game we played all year. Comfortably, not even close. The pitching was stellar. The offense wasn't bad. That's what was infuriating about it. The approaches were great. Shane Bieber had like 65 pitches through like 2+ innings. Like going into the sixth, he had like 90 pitches against him. Like we consistently had runners on base. We were drawing walks. We were getting hits. The leadoff runner was on. It felt like every single inning. You had a runner in scoring position in 8 different innings. You had a runner on base all 9 innings. You had 12 base runners on 9 hits. Like that's what makes this game infuriating. 12 base runners. 0 runs. 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position. What have we said a billion times? You need one of 2 things to have a competent offense. You either need timely hitting, situational hitting, or you need power to make up for it, right? Oh, we're 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position. A homer solves all, right? You had neither today. Neither. Not even close. Did we have an extra base hit besides the Torque double? Nope. That was it. We had 13 base runners and 1 extra base hit. That is just as much the problem as going 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position, by the way. That's just as much of an issue. Close to. 1 for 15 with Risp is probably a little bit worse. But, like, I cannot stress how impossible it is to win a baseball game, to win games consistently in the year 2023 with the way baseball is played today without being able to get an extra base hit. It's impossible. It's not going to happen. That was infuriating. My blood is boiling. Oh my goodness, I'm so upset. Wow, I might have to go for a walk. It's a beautiful night in Metro Detroit, by the way. I might have to go on an evening walk here. There's no way that was good for anybody's mental health. Like I am and like to analyze is also just as infuriating Because what, like this, once I'm done with this part, once I'm done complaining about how they couldn't get a hit with a runner in scoring position to save their lives, where do I go from there? Because the offense wasn't bad. They were bad at one thing. But like, Torque had a 3-hit game. Hard hit balls. Except, well, one of the singles was kind of a flare, but the only extra base hit. Badu, 3 for 3. Matt Vierling with a hit. Riley Green with a hit and 2 walks. Zach McKinstry with a hit and a walk. You had 12 base runners. It's not like the offense just rolled over. It's not like, oh, well, they were getting dominated by like the fastball up and in, or they couldn't lay off the changeup low and in, or the sweeper low and away was getting everybody. Like, team mentality, it just sucked. Like, no. You got runners on and at second base every single inning. Literally every single inning. And you got shut out. Infuriating stuff. We've talked about this a lot. This is not a new issue with this ball club. Now, dare I say, to be fair to them, in the last week going into this game, they had won 6 of their last 7, 5 of their last 6, something like that. And they had been batting over 300 with runners in scoring position during that stretch. And we had talked about in that high batting average, and they were getting a lot of runners in scoring position. But it wasn't like they were going 4 for 7 with runners in scoring position, right? They would get a ton of dudes on, and they would end games like 5 for 15 with runners in scoring position. 333 average, but failed 10 times, right? So this problem certainly did not just like magically get up and walk away, clearly. This was infuriating. There's a couple of instances in which people were clamoring for a bunt. I think we had first and second no outs in the 6th or the 7th, if my memory serves me right. And there was a lot of people that were wondering why we didn't bunt more, just given the fact that we couldn't get a runner past second base for anything. I am not usually a pro bunt person. And in that situation, I think it's difficult because, like, obviously, as we say with bullpen situations, hindsight is 2020. That clearly what we didn't work. So, like, yes, the alternative at least leaves it up for the imagination of, well, it isn't a guaranteed no, which what we did was tonight. I think in that situation, it's a 1-run game. You can do the bunting thing and play for the tie, which I guess still puts you at a better chance to win. But at the end of the day, if you just have this impossible task and it becomes impossible to score a runner, it's not going to matter. Like, you would have just been kicking the can down the road, right? And like Cleveland did score again in the bottom of the 8th. So like, unless you could have predicted the future and been like, you know what, we're going to get a runner on second every single inning. And it wasn't always runner on second, no outs either. There's a lot more that goes into it. You could have played for the tie there, and the fly ball, right, could have helped, and you could have scored a run. I will admit that, like that is correct, but it's really difficult in that specific situation to just think. It's tough. It's really tough. I want to admit that the people that are saying a bunt would have potentially scored a run would have set the team up better than what happened, because again, like, they didn't score. However, I do think it's really difficult in that situation to be like, oh, well, we're 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position right now. Surely we'll end the game 1 for 15 when we've been batting over 300 with Risp over the last week. You know what I mean? it's tough. And you're not playing for a tie, but what happened didn't work. So like I don't want to like walk the fence here. I'm not trying to be like a walk the line, don't go either way. I think I probably would have done what happened, and that makes me look bad because what they did, they got shut out. But it's really tough. I go back and forth a lot. I know everybody has a different opinion on bunting these days. So it's difficult. We'll talk about another way in which they could have scored and didn't. We sung the praises of Torkelson, had a really good day at the plate, but definitely had a big blunder that probably cost them a run as well. We will get into that right after I tell y'all about our friends over at So Rare. It's our new sponsor. It's a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB teams. It's unlike any other fantasy baseball platform. It makes it so that you are actually the owner of your fantasy experience. It's super cool. You collect, buy, sell, and compete with other players against global opponents to win epic rewards. Win or lose, you still own your cards, and there's no cost to play. It's really, really cool. It's a fascinating thing. I had never heard of it, and then now obviously it's everywhere. They have Juan Soto and Julio Rodriguez, our brand ambassadors. Both are featured in their campaigns and commercials and whatnot. You can't watch too many baseball games without seeing them. It's very, very cool. I highly recommend it. So head to sorare.com/lockedon. That's SORARE.com to draft your team of free player cards. Set your lineup and start competing today to win epic rewards. Again, that's sorare.com/lockedon to start playing today. All right, everybody. Welcome back. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Thank you all for making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every single day. Tomorrow, we'll be recapping the series finale against the Cleveland Guardians. Hopefully, we can get out of there with a series victory still. I think that would still, going into this series, I think if most people were told we would win 2 of 3, I think we would all gladly take that. Now it's just frustrating because we should have won today's ball game. Yesterday's as you're listening to this. We should have won on Tuesday. Objectively. You outplayed them. Michael Lorenzen went 7 innings of 1-run ball. You out-hit them. You had more base runners than they did. You were the better team. They had 2 errors. You did everything better than them, and you lost. Because, well, not everything. They went, 2 for 4, 2 for 6 with runners in scoring position and won a ball game because you went 1 for 15. Remarkable stuff. So, how many runners did we leave on base? 12 as a team, which again is only counting how many runners are on base when the inning ends. That's team lob. So 12 left on base, 1 for 15. And if we do our fun game where you add up everybody's individual left on base, it's 31. Let that sink in. We go to the door, turn the doorknob, open it, let that porcelain sink in. 31 left on base if you add up everybody's individual lob numbers. Every single person except Akil Baddoo and Spencer Torkelson left runners on base. 3-2-6-3-2-0-0-1-4-6-4. That's unbelievable stuff. I guess we can talk individual performances. I guess, we can move on, but the individual, this is so weird because now we're going to go to individual performances. And I'm going to be like, hey, a lot of people had great days because Spencer Torkelson looked great at the plate. The one thing we talked about before the break, he had a pretty costly base running error that did cost the Tigers a run. I don't know how Miles Straw is such a good defender. I don't know how he got there. That's not bad luck because Miles Straw is an incredible defender and has been for many years. So it's not like bad luck necessarily, but golly, that ball was smoked to the opposite side of the field in which Straw was fading as well. And just a perfect route. He's fast as all heck and made the catch. So Spencer Torkelson doesn't tag up there and then doesn't score. It's that's another one where yes, he absolutely should have been standing on third base. There's not really too much else to say. Um, that play, like Miles Straw's throw back into the infield was not very strong. He basically could have walked there, but he didn't tag, and he was standing about a third of the way to third base when the catch was made and just retreated back to second. It was an incredible catch, made up a boatload of ground. I would imagine and hope that Torkelson does not make that mistake again, but definitely was costly. And part of it is just at the hands of what an unbelievable like he made that look easier than it was, and it didn't even look that easy. Like that was I cannot stress enough how remarkable of a defender Miles Straw is. Like last year was a positive win player by like comfortably a positive contributor while being one of the worst hitters in Major League Baseball last season, just because he's that good defensively out there. So, kind of like Jonathan Scope at second base last season. So, definitely sucks. Was a mistake. Hopefully, won't happen again. I don't have too much else to say about it, other than like, yeah, he should have been standing on third base. So, but the point of this game, the biggest story of this game, is just going to be the fact that nobody could get a hit with a runner in scoring position. Runner in scoring position, 8 of 9 innings. Unreal stuff. Individually, like I said, Torkelson had a great day at the plate. He is seeing the ball very well lately. His numbers on the season are only going up. He has been on an absolute tear over the last 7 games. His batting average, I believe, is now up to 240. We were talking about the beginning of May, how it was barely over 200. OPS slowly creeping up into the high 600s. It's slowly coming around there. That's good to see. Akil Baddoo, 3-hit day is always good. Who else? Riley Green has been absolutely on fire as well. He looked good again in this one. He has a 270 average now and a 716 OPS. Really good to see there. A couple of walks in this ball game as well. Javi Baez 0 for 5 with 3 Ks. Goes right back to, we talked about how he hasn't struck out very much this year, how he went over a week without a strikeout. Right back to the well, swinging at sliders low and away. 3 strikeouts and 5 ABs in this one. Yeah, not great. Nick Maton, 0 for 3 with 3 Ks. Look, I said it yesterday, even despite the fact that he got on base twice, I think it's really hard to justify him staying at the 4 spot. I understand you want to do the righty-lefty back and forth stuff at the top, and you don't really have a clear-cut lefty candidate to bat fourth, considering Green is going to have to bat second and should be batting second. So it's difficult when you go up against a righty. You kind of want that. But it's really, I'm not sure there's much justification. Righty, lefty, be darned. I don't care at this point. Nick Maton, I think, needs to drop in the lineup. I love the at-bats. I really do. A lot of them go deep into counts, but it doesn't matter because we talked about it with Kerry Carpenter, 3 weeks ago now, how he just had not been able to hit off-speed or breaking balls. Nick Maton's the same way. He has I think he has 0 hits against changeups, and he has like 3 or 4 against breaking balls all season. The scouting report's out, man. He's got a 163 average. You had to pinch hit your 4-hitter at a key moment in a ball game. And there was a little bit of righty-lefty because of that, but still, like, point remains. So we'll see what happens with that. It's tough. We'll see how it develops. We'll see what continues to happen. Andy Ibanez, cool down game. Didn't really look comfortable in his last 2 at-bats either. Vierling, fine. Baddoo, obviously, again, really solid game. McKinstry, I thought, looked good. And like, all of these they looked good with nobody on. And then every single person on this baseball team, when there was a runner in scoring position, just complete opposite. So, like, take all of this knowing and remembering what I said for the first half of this show, where I said this team, that was one of the most insane displays of like lack of ability to hit with a runner in scoring position I've ever seen. Okay. Let's get into the pitching, because that was a huge bright spot in this game. And I thought that there was a lot of good to take out of what we saw in the bump from Detroit. We'll do that right after this. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Third and final segment here, Locked On Tigers. I appreciate y'all for tuning in, as always. So, talking about the pitching, definitely a bright spot in this ball game. And again, that's what made this so frustrating. Was this was a good competitive ball game. The pitching was great. The offense was great 50% of the time. The bullpen, I thought, was solid. I mean, they only threw one inning, but like, sure. We'll talk about, I know they gave up a run. We'll talk about Cisnero in a second, but like, this was not some doomsday. I would have rather they just got like Shane Bieber just went out there and shoved. And it was like, okay, well, Shane Bieber is going to be Shane Bieber. And like the Tigers offense is still, while even though they've been hot lately, still not like, this was just cruel. This was winnable. Okay, it was. It's past tense, so we can say it. This was winnable, extremely winnable. Pitching, though, let's focus on the positives. Michael Lorenzen looked great. 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 3 strikeouts. Lowers his ERA now down to 4.18. 2 starts ago, his ERA was like 7. Now it's just a tick over 4. Back-to-back really good starts. Did he go 7 shutout against the Mets? Or 7 innings of 1 run against the Mets, too? So he's looked a lot better. Only run given up was in the first inning there. How about, here's an idea. Don't throw anything in the strike zone to Steven Kwan first at bat of the game. I swear that dude's batting average, that's got to be a stat I can find. I'm sure I can. I'll try and do that. Maybe I'll tweet it out tomorrow during the game if he gets another leadoff hit. And if he doesn't, then I just won't, and we'll forget this conversation ever happened. I swear he's batting like 900 to lead off baseball games this year. And it's not like he's batting, he's not like Luis Arias. It's not like he has a 450 average in May. But like, I swear to you, to lead off ball games specifically, that dude's average has to be 900. So that bothered me. But they manufactured a run. The Tigers got out of it. Lorenzen gets out of it, gets some ground balls to go his way. And then kind of smooth sailing. The key to this game was the race to 0-1. We've talked about it a billion times this season. All of the Tigers pitchers' best performances have come on games in which they have dominated the race to 1 strike. And Lorenzen in this one, I think it was like 23 for 25 or something. He was remarkable when it came to getting to an 0-1 count and throwing a first pitch strike in this one. And that was one of the biggest reasons for his success. Dating back to last year, like the thing with Feder has always been, dating back to 2 years ago, very early on, you realize that Federer's mindset was, you will throw strikes. And I talked about this at length, like my first summer here, right on this show 2 years ago. Like we've been talking about this a lot if you're a longtime listener, but like that has always been Chris Federer's thing. And so getting someone in the front office and obviously AJ that all agree with that mentality and that mindset, I think is the reason why we're seeing such great unison in the starting pitching lately. And really outside of the first time through the rotation, the entire year from the bullpen included. So like really, really good to see. Again, Lorenzen, rough start to the year, but we also have to remember that he was hurt and missed the first, 3 times through the rotation. And so when like everybody else sucked the first start or 2 as well, Erod included. And so now Lorenzen's caught up with the class and has about as many starts under their belt as everybody else did when they started pitching well as well. So hopefully we can just steamroll that or snowball that rather into more and more successful outings. But the race to 0-1 was big. He only had 3 strikeouts in this game. It wasn't like a great strikeout performance, but he had 13 whiffs. Really, really solid. And the biggest pitch for him, he had a 31% CSW percentage in the outing, called strikes plus whiffs percentage. So 31% of his pitches, of his 98 pitches, were either called strikes or swinging miss strikes. So just non-foul ball strikes. He had 7 whiffs on the changeup. That's what I was going to say. 7 whiffs on the changeup alone. Really solid number. And the slider had almost a 40% CSW percentage as a pitch in itself. So you're talking about a show me fastball that tops out at what, 95, 96 is what it topped out in this one, that he threw 35 times. And then incredible changeup and slider secondary pitches that he threw 25 and 23 times respectively. Just all around a masterclass game when it came to pitch sequencing. Really solid command. He missed over the middle of the plate a little bit with the fastball, but thankfully this Cleveland Guardians team has like the worst slugging team I've seen since the 2022 Detroit Tigers. I guess it's really not that long, but really, really dreadful when it comes to extra base hits for them over the course of the whole season. I think they have pretty comfortably the worst slugging percentage in baseball at the moment. So thankfully did not come back to bite him, but a few, and that was really later in the outing anyways as well, but not going to knock him for it. This was a really, really, really strong, solid performance, and that's back-to-back solid performances for Lorenzen. As far as the bullpen goes, they pitched 1 inning. Jose Cisnero goes 2/3 of an inning, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. His ERAs on the season is about 3.55. I think that's probably around where it'll stay. Maybe a little bit higher, maybe just under a 4 ERA on the year. Like, he's going to be a fine middle reliever, but he's never going to be like, man, do you remember 2021 Jose Cisnero? He was special. He was special. He appeared in like 60 games that year too. They just absolutely used the heck out of him that season, and he was great. So I don't think that version of him is ever coming back. However, I don't think that it'll be some train wreck. Like early on in the year, we were like, oh my goodness, this dude's stuff is flat. He might not make it to June. I think he's probably going to be here. But I don't expect him to be sub 2, sub 2.5, sub 3 even ERA Jose Cisnero anymore either. So he'll be he'll be a fine placeholder reliever that they'll use. And we'll probably get some decent innings out of him. And so probably get some innings that look like this out of him. And then Tyler Alexander showed up and threw 3 pitches and got an out. So good for him. So yeah, there you have it. Rough one. Not like it wasn't rough though. It was frustrating, not rough. It was rough because they couldn't hit with a runner on base. It wasn't. It was remarkable. I'm at a loss for words. It's very difficult to analyze a game in which only that specific part of the offense was bad because they were working counts. They did jack up Bieber's pitch count a ton. He was throwing a boatload of pitches. You had the leadoff runner on all the time. You had a runner on second in literally every inning. Like it's a very tough game to break down because I can't just show up and be like, well, the offense sucked. Here's why, and go through everybody and talk about why they struggled because like almost everybody got on base. Just a ridiculous performance. Like I said, over the last week, they've had a batting average with runners in scoring position of over 300. If we can get back to it, kind of like what I said with the defensive performance on Sunday against the Cardinals, if that's just a one-time thing, then let's put it behind us and move on. And the beautiful thing about this beautiful game is no matter how bad today is, there is always tomorrow. And tomorrow, the Detroit Tigers happen to have Eduardo Rodriguez on the mound with a fantastic opportunity to still go win a series. So it was infuriating. It made my blood boil. It was my least favorite Tigers game so far in the calendar year, comfortably. However, they still have a chance to walk out of Cleveland with 2 of 3 and be second place in the division. Going into an off day as well on Thursday, which I think we'll take. Okay? Let's go try and win. Day game for the individual that asks me to say the starting times. Day game. So I think a 1 o'clock. Let me double check for you. Yep, 1:10 p.m. on Wednesday. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I appreciate y'all greatly. Like I said to the everydayers, we will be back tomorrow talking about the series finale against Cleveland, hopefully recapping a series victory. And yeah, it's Erod against Battenfield, who is 0-3 with a 4 ERA this season. Go win a series. All right? Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll see y'all tomorrow, baby. Go Tigers.